Hello, good evening and welcome to UCD, to the Quinn School of Business. My name is Aoife Doherty and I'm the director, the admin director of the Quinn School, and I'm delighted to welcome students from across the globe to Dublin, to Belfield, to our campus, to a virtual information evening. We're delighted to have many of you joining us from across the globe, and I know that my colleague Valerie shortly will put up a poll just so we get a sense of where you are and where you're coming from this evening. Of course, it's 5 o'clock for us here in Dublin, but it may be morning or evening for you wherever you're joining us from. So just to tell you a little bit about our session this afternoon, I am joined by a number of colleagues from the Quinn School who are going to tell you a little bit more about our school, our culture, the academics of the programs, and a little bit about living in Dublin. So I'm delighted to be joined this evening by Maeve Houlihan. Maeve is the Associate Dean and the Director of the Quinn School. She is also an academic and she teaches a core management module to all our Stage 1 students. So we're delighted that Maeve has time from her very busy schedule to join us this afternoon. We're also joined by Associate Professor Virginia Stewart. Virginia is the academic lead and director for our newest program, which is the BSc Business, and she'll be telling us a little bit more about that program later on in the session. We're also delighted to welcome Orla McGorty to our session this afternoon. Orla is our International Student Coordinator and looks after students through the admissions process all the way across the programs. And then we're most delighted to welcome 3 of our students. 2 of our students from the upper stages, Sinead and William, are in stage 3, which is the final stage of our Bachelor of Commerce program. And also delighted to welcome Aisling. Aisling Flesh has joined the Commerce International program this year, and all of them will be giving us their tips and their thoughts on studying in the Quinn School of Business. So that is our panel this evening, and we have a brief schedule, just an outline to keep us on track for the hour that we have together. Maeve is going to start off the session talking a little bit more about the school and our programs, and then we're going to spotlight in with Virginia on our BSc Business program. Orla will give us some tips and tricks for international students joining college life in Ireland, and then our students will have an opportunity to chat with our students and they will share their thoughts. You have the opportunity to ask any questions. I know some students may have submitted questions in advance, but there's also the option to add questions as we go through the webinar, and we'll get to those, particularly when we have the opportunity to speak with our students. So with that, I think I'm going to hand over to Maeve. I say Maeve is going to have 10-15 minutes to talk us through the session so far. And there we can see where the majority of our students are joining us from. I think we have good representation from the United States today. So happy President's Day to you all. I think today's a bank holiday, so you have no school today, which I'm sure must be great. But I can see that we also have potential students joining us from Canada, from India. Ni hao to our students joining us from China, also from South Africa, Korea, and a few more besides. So we're delighted that we have such a global audience indeed this afternoon. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Maeve, and she is going to spend, as I say, a little bit of time going through the programs and the offerings here in the Quinn School. Over to you, Maeve.
Thank you so much, Aoife. What a pleasure and what a lovely opportunity to meet with everybody from all of the different parts of the world today. So thank you so much for doing that. You know, we're all very aware of how precious time is, and especially for those of you who should perhaps be on a day off today. So we hope that we can answer some of your questions, and do make sure that if you have a question, you use the opportunity, perhaps using the question and answer box, to make sure that you get it answered or get the name of one of us to contact afterwards. We'd be glad to help. So, as Aoife said, my pleasure is that I am the academic director of our school here, the UCD Loughlin Quinn School of Business, which is an undergraduate business school. We have 2,000 plus students in the undergraduate part of our work, and our sister school is our graduate school, the Michael Smurfit Graduate Business School. And both of those schools reside, if you like, in Dublin, which is the national capital of Ireland. But as you can see here, I suppose maps are so relative, but this particular map is putting Ireland and Dublin right at the centre of the world, particularly the centre of the world when we think about all of the different geographies you are calling from today. So we hope that gives you good reason to think about perhaps coming to study in a place like Ireland and Dublin. And what I want to do in this short outline is give you a feeling for why we think the school here in Quinn is a little bit special, what we're trying to do and what we feel we can offer as a school. And to start with, I would say we think of ourselves very much as meeting the needs of a rising and changing world. So a rising generation change is, we think, all of you on this call. And we think it's very important that your education gives you the skills, the capacities, and the confidence ultimately to make a difference, make an impact in an extraordinarily global and challenging and full of opportunities world. So that's us. And just to be a bit more specific about Dublin, one of the reasons why thinking about Dublin as a business environment is very important is perhaps just a little look around even just our very immediate business environment here. This is, you will see the River Liffey. And this is just one very small section, just a couple of blocks around the financial services district and the main business district of Dublin. And you can see even in this section how many global companies have their home here in Dublin, from the tech space, the financial services space. And when we look beyond Dublin, we see a huge footprint as well of major global pharmaceutical and other types of industries that really give reason to think this is an interesting place to be. So let's talk a little bit more about the school here. And we would love nothing more than to take you on a physical tour of the school today, but we hope we can give you a visual tour and give you a feeling of this environment. And this image here is a part of our school, the Moore wing, the external new wing of the school that we created just 3 short years ago to really expand the type and the sort of ways of working we do together in the school. But more of that briefly. Most of you perhaps are considering the question, should I study business as an undergraduate degree, or should I take a broader degree, more general, specialize in business later, or are there other subjects that I'm interested in? Well, here's a couple of reasons that I think business is a very interesting proposition. I think ultimately, if you were to really ask me to nail my colors to the mast, when I ask classes, when I ask you, you might be thinking lots of different things, but often people will say, I'm interested in understanding how the economy works, how money works. I'm interested in the type of career that I could have in that field, and I know something of what business does. And all of those are really good reasons to be drawn towards business. But I must say, I believe that the core of what we try to do in business is to create value, is to build value, to add value. And sometimes that's to commercial organizations, sometimes that's about profit, and sometimes that's to non-profits or even creative organizations. Sometimes it's about startups, lots of different places. But your question is always, can I add some more value here? And I think that's a great reason to study business. But it's worth being aware that the essence of business, the essence of what we do here, is probably built around 6 key specialist areas. So accounting, the business of tracking money; finance, perhaps understanding at a bigger level the flows and the storage of money and how maybe money can be in its own way creating value; management, turning very much to the management of people, the human side of organizations, and how can we get things done through and with people; human resources and employment relations, thinking about that in a more systemic way. People, you know, we are extraordinary and complex, and we're messy as well. And I think that's great. It's part of why there's so much scope, and it's so important to really be curious about people and how you might work with us, how we might work with each other. MIS is about data and understanding all of the different ways particularly in a digital world, that we can track and understand and work with and analyze data. So we see a huge swing towards the analytic world and adding value through analysis and through the footprint of activity and understanding better and better and better how things work. And finally, marketing. Well, marketing is about the stories that we tell and making sure that you're bringing that value to the marketplace, finding your customers, understanding your customers' needs, and managing your relationships with customers and communicating with them well. So that is just a span of the business subjects, but it shows another thing that makes business very attractive, which is the breadth of possibility across the business subjects. So those are a few ideas. I think whatever degree you take, and let me say this, even though I would love to think of everybody here choosing to study here at the Quinn School, but I think really what we most want is for you to find the right school for you. So that's always the question you're asking: what is the right school for me? There's no perfect school, but what is the right one for you and your skills and your ambitions? But I do think that any degree should give you a great growth in your skills and your capacities, not only your knowledge. And certainly you should be looking for some of these things. Your communication skills. Will you be giving lots of presentations? Leadership skills. Will there be opportunities to take part in or even create events or societies? Goal setting and problem solving. Is that part of your daily experience? Are you learning constantly to add value in your work? So that just gives you, I guess, a feeling for some of the things that you might look for. And I think we very much have them in spades at UCD Quinn. And I suppose if I get more personal to us, why would you study with us then? Well, you know, we're proud to say that in our programs, in all of the different programs that we offer, we're proud to say that we are in Ireland certainly the preeminent program. We certainly believe that, and we've been, not only our belief, but we've been accredited by many of the global business alliances to confirm that. And that's we're the longest standing triple accredited business school in Ireland. And that means that we're in the top 1% of business schools worldwide. So a small business school, small country, but the best business school in that country. And lots more. And I think today, because you can't physically be here, we wanted to show you a little bit about our kind of essence as a school. Now, the truth of our essence as a school, I think, is really our students, and you're going to meet some of our students. And I'm so pleased about that, to hear a little more about their lived experience. But if I was also to say what I think our distinctive piece is, well, I think we're all about creating space. And I mean space in lots of different ways. We're very proud of our physical environment. It's beautiful space. We have one theatre that is like this, a big showcase environment. It's bright and it's airy, and it's a space for ideas. It's a space to hear and ask questions and hear big debates. And we run, for example, our big business and society and core modules in that space. But what is very important is that we build out from that space into smaller environments where it becomes the discussion of ideas. So here's another one of our rooms. It's our enterprise hub. And this room is about working in clusters, learning to think differently. And in the end, after you complete your college degree, that's our biggest hope of all, is that you will emerge being and thinking a little bit different than you were as you arrived. So space, we emphasize a number of different big ideas that kind of join all of the things that we do together. One is innovation and enterprise, the idea that maybe you as a business student are somebody who will in the future create jobs, create employment, or create changes in the organizations that you work in. Another big theme for us is sustainability and understanding the huge, powerful relationship between business and society. A third is learning to think in research terms, becoming a researcher, becoming more rigorous in your thinking, being informed. And that spirit of inquiry is very important, part of really what's sometimes called critical thinking, but what you learn as a student. And finally, transformational learning. Well, that is this idea that somehow, as you go through your journey with us, you will be different and become different. And so here's another of our spaces. This space is our atrium, and it's full of different types of spaces where you can collaborate with other people, work on group projects for your modules, or perhaps work on societies. Perhaps you'll run into students who are from different faculties, engineering, medicine, and share ideas and work on things together socially and focused on your work as well. So that space to collaborate, you can get a feeling from some of these images of the different types of spaces and environments around the school. And we think that's very important because learning, working, these are all changing. How we do these things are all changing, and they're all becoming much more social, much more permeable by time. And it really matters that you're in an environment where you can be stimulated. So space to stretch, space to evolve and to have opportunities to help you evolve is another big theme. And for example, we've built a lot of programs into the degree at Quinn, whichever degree you choose, to make sure that you have plenty of invitations to open up your world. Whether that is perhaps in first year or second year exposure to Quinn sites from alumni and an opportunity to be teamed up with an alumni member for the Quinn mentoring program. Or whether perhaps that's taking the opportunity to do a year in an internship. The Quinn Business internship can run for up to a year in third year in the BCom and in the BSc Business and Economics and Finance degrees. Or whether it's taking a term abroad to study somewhere else and really build out your global citizenship. Or whether it's taking advantage of something such as a case study competition or an alumni event, we really try to make sure that you have lots of opportunities to open up your world. Speaking of that idea of taking time out to study elsewhere, it's such a big part of the college experience. And I suppose many people on this call will already be experiencing that, but just imagine you can also think about going even further. So I would perhaps just mention, as we talk about our internship program, perhaps just mention that, again, the companies that you can work with, we have more than 200 students every year going out to work in an internship year. They are here in Dublin. They're long-term partners with the school. They value our students, but also, as you can see here, many of them are really global employers, and they're well recognized around the world. They will give you experiences that you can really build on and gain from. So you're getting a sense of the environment and what matters to us. And I think the last sort of idea of space that I think really matters or is worth thinking about is that your real opportunity in college is the relationships that you build. It's the conversations that you have, and it's the people that you meet. And so all of these spaces that we speak about, they're designed to create relationships for you. And they're designed to bring you into contact with people who've walked the road before you and who might be able to help, might be able to give you inspiration, or might be able to give you support or mentorship or advice. And we think those conversations truly, truly matter. So I think probably now would be a good time to begin to turn more directly to our programs. And just to remind you that while you might have interest in a specific program, we have five programs on offer here at the Quinn School: the Bachelor of Commerce, which is our anchor business degree, 3 or 4 years, depending on your choice of including an internship or not. The BCom International, which combines business with a specialist deep dive in the language, culture and literatures of another culture, usually French or German or Spanish or Italian or Chinese. The Bachelor of Business and Law, which combines the legal and business in 2 degrees across 4 years. or the BSc Economics and Finance, again, a 3 or 4 year degree with the internship possibility, specializing in a really high level, but also expansive exploration of all of the science of economics and finance and all that goes with it. And finally, we're going to take a special focus today on our BSc Business. And our BSc Business is a global degree, very much a sister degree to our Bachelor of Commerce, but with an additional strand running through that focuses on the intercultural world, the global mindset, and indeed how we together embrace a global world. So I'm delighted now to introduce my colleague, Dr. Virginia Stewart, who's going to share with us her experience as academic director of the BSc Business. Virginia, thank you so much.
Thank you, May, for the wonderful overview of all wonderful things at Quinn. I'm delighted to be the director for our new BSc Business. I say new, but it's a few years old at this point. And as such, it's a program deserving of some extra information since it's not as well known. So as I said, I am the director for the BSc Business, and oops, I'm just going to forward it there. It's part of all of our degree programs in that, you know, at Quinn, we're triple accredited. All our students have these study abroad opportunities, fully paid internships, excellent employment, and all the things that Maeve already highlighted. But the BSc Business in particular is for students who are interested in developing a global mindset. They see themselves as contributing to the business community without borders, interested in coursework on global supply chain operations, on coursework on working in groups and teams, cross cultures. Students who come from outside Ireland in particular are attracted to this program because we focus very much on ignoring national borders and learning how to cooperate to produce the best for business and for society simultaneously. It's a 3-year degree program. So you do foundational work in your first year. Your second year, you start having more options for electives. And then in your third year, you can spend almost 50% of your time focused on global business coursework or other ones that you find of interest. So these are the nuts and bolts of a Quinn degree program. So our first year we call stage 1, second year stage 2. Then it gets a little bit more complicated. Many of our students opt to take an exploratory year in their stage 3. This might be through an internship. It might be through study abroad. Or you could just continue straight through and finish in 3 years and jump to the final stage. You can notice here, these are just sample courses. Many at the beginning are actually required foundational business courses, management, mathematics, finance, economics, human resources, marketing, things like that. And then the gray boxes will show you where you can start slotting in electives. These courses can be from within the business school, but also across the university. And then the final stage, you'll see that over in the pink boxes, you can choose to take a stream of electives on global business or something else that might catch your fancy. The courses at Quinn are 2 hours and they meet once a week. So you'll be taking six classes at once generally. Maeve mentioned this already, but we do offer a year-long internship program. It is paid, and many students find this a very valuable learning experience. It's not mandatory, it's not required, it's just offered. Other options include doing consulting projects during term time, of course, and summer internships that are more of a standalone. We also offer our BSc Business students an optional trimester abroad. The only constraint is that this be at an English-speaking university. So we have partner universities around the world, that if you choose to complete some of your BSc Business coursework, you could do it there. In terms of career prospects, it's a very practical degree in terms of finding a job. Almost 100% of our graduates either engage in full-time employment or choose to continue their studies. Potentially, this is a choice you make further down the line. Starting salaries are $20,000 to $80,000 across the Quinn School. Obviously, there's variation in what we choose to study and where we choose to work. One of the benefits of coming to Ireland and UCD and Quinn is that graduates from our programs do get a visa to work for up to 12 months after graduating. And this is something that can be very valuable while you're exploring your different professional options. So that's just a quick snapshot of the BSc Business. And at this point, I would like to turn it over to my colleague, Orla. Orla is the International Student Coordinator. And so, Orla.
Virginia, I just might jump in unscheduled if you don't mind, because I see that we have a question from a student about internships. So I thought it might be a good opportunity just to close off that question. So one of our participants is asking whether the internship is a full year or whether it can be a shorter period of time. So just to explain to people on the call this evening, our one-year internship can be part of your program. As Virginia mentioned, it can be discretionary. It's not a mandatory part, but it is organized through the Quinn School, and we do a lot of work to prepare students, including offering a boot camp beforehand. We do mock interviews. We do lots of work to get people ready for the internship opportunity. And it generally runs from September to May, and it is 60 academic credits. So it's part of your program. But many of our students take the opportunity to take an internship during the summer. So this may not be for credit. It may be just for the learning experience and for the opportunity to work with different firms. So we have a lot of students between first year and second year and third year that might take the opportunity to work for 2 or 3 months in a company. And I know when we are chatting to our students, we'll probably talk about that a little bit more, but I just wanted to jump in and close off that question now. So I'm going to hand over to Orla, if that's okay, and then I'll be back on and we will have a chat a little bit more with the students. Orla, over to you.
Thanks, Aoife. I'm going to talk to you very briefly. I'm the International Student Coordinator in the Quinn School. So that means I provide support and guidance to students who come from other countries to study their full degree with us. So we look forward to welcoming many different students from all different countries. We have about 45 to 50 different nationalities in the student population at the moment, which is fantastic to see. And we really value the input that brings into our global classroom environment and all the many different perspectives that students bring. So Maeve would have talked about that a lot in her presentation earlier about the classroom environment. So I'm just going to talk to you about other aspects of why you might want to study here. So you can see the benefits to studying in a different country. So any one of you that are on this call obviously are interested in studying in a different country, and that's fantastic. And there are many side benefits apart from the excellent degree qualification you will get from the College of Business and UCD. You will also gain all these other side benefits to studying in a different country. You learn about new cultures, you learn about the experiences of the students coming from all the different places, you may have the opportunity to learn new languages, and above all, you're traveling, you're building personal development and life experience and making connections, which is really valued by employers. And that's what, we want to see when you go out into the world of work, that you will have that experience with employers. So Maeve already mentioned the business environment in Ireland and how great it is for work and employment. So just something to think about is we're a small little country. We're right on the edge of Europe, and we have a big global footprint. So lots of people know about us. We have people all over the world. We have a huge diaspora. So we are very outward thinking, creative thinkers. We're problem solvers, and we look outwards, which is really important in a global business environment. So these are just some images of Ireland that I'm sure lots of you are familiar with if you've looked at anything to do with Ireland. there's many different things that you can you'll be able to visit when you're in Ireland. You'll see people, you'll have heard people talking about the Cliffs of Moher. We have a very vibrant city. We've amazing scenery and landscape. There's castles. And then we also have an obsession with the weather. So if you ever meet Irish people, they talk about the weather. So that middle picture there is typical of Ireland. Lots of wind, lots of rain, but then you also have sunshine and you have beautiful skies and lots of things to look at there. So here are just some things that are noted about Ireland in some global rankings and commentary about Ireland that may be of interest to students. So one that I find really interesting is that we're a top 10 country in the Good Country Index overall, but we're also a top 10 country globally for contribution to protecting the planet and environment. So again, as Maeve talked about, our focus on business, society and sustainability, that's really important. And that is reflected in everything that we do in the College of Business. You also see we're ranked a top 40 best student city in the QS World Rankings, which is, again, very important to know as prospective students. So again, why study in Ireland? Some of these have been touched on already, but one of the things I wanted to mention to you as well was, I know Virginia mentioned the stay back visa. So students who graduate from an undergraduate program in Ireland can stay for 12 months to look for work or to work. But also we have amazing alumni connections. So we're the oldest business school in Ireland. Our BCom degree was one of the first that started in 1908. And we have a global alumni of over 100,000 former students or graduates. So that is really important when you're making connections. And maybe we can talk about this a little more when we come to the discussions later about those importance of having those connections in terms of employment and in terms of recognition of the qualification that you get. So we've 40 chapters worldwide, and we have a presence in about 138 countries at the moment, which is brilliant. Just a little bit about UCD. So we're the largest urban campus in Europe with 350 acres. So the area that's outlined in red is part of our campus. So that's the main campus in Belfield. And you'll see just up at the top, you can just see the sea. So we're about a 20-minute walk from the sea, and we have the mountains behind us. So it makes for a really nice environment. We've lots of green space. We've lots of buildings, yes, but we've lots of green space. We have amazing student facilities. There's a brilliant student centre. We have lots of sports clubs. We have lots of student societies. And again, we'll discuss this in more detail in the panel shortly. So we have about 60 different sports clubs that students can join. There's a gym available to students. There's a 50-metre swimming pool. And we have about 80 to 100 different student societies that students can get involved in all sorts of activities, events, nights out, and build their skills and, make those connections that are so valuable and that Maeve talked about as part, that is a really important part of your university experience. And again, some of the students on the panel later will be able to talk about that in more detail. Okay, so next steps for offer holders. So if you have your offer, if you haven't accepted it, the next step is to accept your offer and pay your deposit. Communications about on-campus accommodation will go out to people who have an accept or conditional accept. That usually happens around late April, early May, but the date can change from year to year. So you will be communicated to by email, to whatever email address you put into your application. Okay, also watch out for communications from your regional global center team. So if you're from the US, so the global center team in the US, if you're from India, there's a global center team in Delhi. So they will be sending communications to offer holders about different offer holder events, pre-departure sessions. They'll also be encouraging you to join. They usually set up a Facebook or WhatsApp group for current offer holders in the country or region, so you can connect with other prospective students that will be coming for September. So it's really important to make those connections. You can make those connections even before you get here. Then you will be also receiving communications later in the summer. So around July, August, they usually start coming about UCD Orientation Week, about how to register, how to confirm your arrival date, and so on. That won't be coming to you until late July, early August, because our teaching term won't start till early September. So a lot of that process and registration happens towards the end of August. So you won't start receiving those communications probably till late July, early August. So don't panic if you haven't received anything about registration and so on. Until that point, you will get it. So we will also be in touch with you in the interim period, and please feel free to contact us. We'd love to answer any questions you have about coming to Ireland and studying here, and learn more about the college and the campus and the students and the classroom environment. And that's me done. So I'll hand you back now to Aoife and our student panel.
Thanks very much, Orla and Maeve and Virginia. It is fantastic to see some lovely images and the thoughts and reflections on the school. And it really was a whirlwind tour through the programs, the offerings and the culture of Quinn. But now I think it'd be great to hear from some of our students that are with us. So Sinead and William and Ashley. They're going to switch on the cameras and we'll have a quick chat about their life in Quinn. And maybe one of the good things to always start with is having a think about why you made the big and brave decision to come from the comfort of, and all our three students today are from North America, to come from North America and to join us here in the Quinn School. So Sinead, I might begin with you if you don't mind, because your story is interesting. You're in final year in the Bachelor of Commerce program. You are going to be joining our graduate school, the Smurfit School, for an MSc in Sustainable Supply Chain later on this year when you complete your studies. But you came through a slightly different route and you've had experience of studying in North America as well. So would you mind if I began with you and you talked a little bit about your journey and why you picked here and the differences you see between North America and between studying here in Ireland?
Of course. So welcome everyone. I'm Sinead, a final year. I did my first freshman year at University of Connecticut over on the East Coast. And I started at UConn mainly because of COVID. I couldn't quite make the move during COVID, but now that I've come over to Dublin, I can see a lot of differences between the schools, mainly pertaining to assessment. And I think a lot of people, if you've gone through the course outlines, you could see that it's weighted more on testing and testing environments, which I find was a big switch for me in the beginning, but I've adjusted very well. Quinn does a great job at preparing you, and the course outlines definitely go week by week. So as long as you keep up with it, that's definitely one of my biggest differences in terms of academics.
Okay. And why did you choose to come, Sinead? What prompted you to come from North America?
I have the classic answer, mom's Irish, dad's Scottish, but besides that, we spoke a lot on Dublin being a headquarters of so many corporations, and that's kind of what I wanted. If anyone's familiar with University of Connecticut, it's definitely on the countryside, so you can't do a lot of company visits and be in the center of it all, but here at Quinn, we're able to go on company visits all the time, be firsthand. Like, for example, my last semester with my multinational class, we were able to tour Google and chat away to employees. And so just having that firsthand experience, being upfront, is just invaluable.
Super. Thanks so much, Sinead. William, I'm going to ask you the same question, if that's okay. Why did you decide to join us and how has your journey been so far? You've been with us for 3 years in the Quinn School.
Yeah, I think I always knew I wanted to go abroad for college. I just didn't know where. And when I was applying and everything, and when I actually first got in here, it was COVID, so I couldn't fly over here. So I fell in love through YouTube, and then I spoke a decent amount with Orla as well to get an idea. And I think it was just slight on a whim, but slightly I knew I wanted to be abroad and in Ireland. And once I got here and kind of positioned myself within the first month or so, I met a lot of really cool and interesting people from all over the globe who were stuck in the same position as me, kind of quarantined in the dorms here at UCD, which was they're now my lifelong friends. So then it's been a great transition over from North America to here.
It does seem like a long time ago, doesn't it? September 2020 when you arrived, and we were all online at that point in time. But happily, we got you back into class September last year, and now you're in the final year. And along with all your studies, William, you're doing a lot of extracurricular activities. So you are this year the auditor of one of our biggest student societies, which is the Investors and Entrepreneurs Society. Could you talk a little bit about the importance maybe of joining societies or clubs and networking?
Yeah, I think, so like you said, I'm the president of the INE Society, and we do a lot of, like it says, investors and entrepreneurs, so investing in the stock market, and then Dragon's Dens or Shark Tank for people in in the US and a lot of different other events for women in business. I think for myself, I didn't know anyone when I came over here. So joining a society was kind of imperative for me to be able to go out and meet some new people. So I've been in the society for all 3 years. Last year I was our head of entrepreneurs. I think when you first get over here and they have the freshers week and the huge tent with all the societies and everything, I think it's really imperative just to go over and see kind of what you like. There's, I think, something for everyone. And it's a great way to meet people and, you know, find people to kind of go out for a drink in downtown or whatever. So.
Okay, so it's a good way to meet like-minded folk. And Sinead, I'm going to come to you, Ashley, now, but Sinead, you're also involved in sports. I think you're in the lacrosse team, are you? Do you find that a good way to help settle in and find people with common interests?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that was the first thing. I went A-line to the sports tents because I think it's a good way. You just get outside, you run around, but specifically to our American students, I feel it was nice because the lacrosse team's definitely full of a lot of people from America, being our own sport, but it's super fun just to run around and meet people. And I'm up and down to Belfast and Galway, like playing sports, so something different.
Super, thanks Sinead. And we're mentioning lacrosse, but there are lots of different sports teams, everything from football to rugby to hockey to swimming and surfing. So there really is plenty for everybody in the freshers tent. So just to explain, at the start of every academic year, we have a big tent which is set up and all the clubs and societies are there. And it's an opportunity for students to walk around kind of shopping and seeing who you'd like to join. You pay a very small joining fee and then you participate in the club or the society for a year. And as William did, after 2 years, you might end up being the auditor of that society. But Ashley, I'm going to come to you now because you are our newest joiner on the team. You joined in September and you had taken the opportunity beforehand to come and visit us in the Quinn School. So could you tell us a little bit about your journey and the program that you're studying?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Aisling. So I am a first year in Commerce International. I found out kind of the school in the same way as Sinead. My mom is from Ireland. She actually went to UCD. So that was really nice. And so I chose Commerce International because, well, I'd taken Spanish in high school. I know a lot of schools have language requirements, and that was something that I had gotten pretty far in high school. And I was like, I don't want to stop now. I want to get to the fluency level. So I think having the study abroad year, the third year in my course, is really helpful. I think it's great for people who want to like learn business, but then also be able to apply it in a different language. And I'm really excited.
And Ashley, how did you find the transition coming from North America to Dublin in September?
Yeah, I mean, it was different. Like it's hard to be away from your family at first and your dogs. But you get used to it. There's so many opportunities, like with the clubs and being so close to the city center, and there are so many events just in Refreshers Week or that like UCD Global holds to meet people from your country, from other countries. It's just, there's a lot of ways to make friends, even if, because I didn't know anyone before I came.
Super. Thanks, Ashley. And I'm just thinking, you know, we're talking about meeting friends outside of the classroom, but within Quinn, students will take a range of modules, but you can also take elective classes outside of the Quinn School or within the Quinn School. So William or Sinead or Ashley, would you like to talk a little bit about electives or anything interesting that you did? William, I think you did a history module, did you, in first year?
Yes, so I can't remember the exact name. It was history from 1400s to 1700s. Which was very interesting for me. I know just from my high school experience, it was mostly, you know, American history, Texan history, and World War I and World War II. So I mean, there wasn't a lot of history on Europe that I learned. So it was great for myself to be able to go in and learn about that through different texts and different readings, and then our professor, and I'm getting the name off the top of my head, but he was great, and he often recommended different Spanish wines we should, you know, drink while reading reading some text about Spain or something like that. So he was a really interesting guy.
It sounds like an interesting and slightly unorthodox set of recommendations, but yes. Sinead, can I pivot a little bit and ask you if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about what a typical day is like for you as a student here in UCD?
Of course. So a typical day for me is I just take the bus right in. I get my cappuccino to begin with. No, I'm kidding. But then I go into our PWC lecture hall, which was featured in our slides. And that's where a lot of our core modules are held. So that's where your entire class will come together. It's really nice to see the familiar faces over the years, a couple times a week. And so I go to my lectures, and then we also have smaller classes called tutorials where you could do more applied small group work. And so those run about an hour, hour and a half, and then I could have training at night. So yeah, lectures, tutorials, meeting with friends in Quinn, grabbing a cappuccino. It's a great day.
Aisling, is that common? Is that what your day is like? And you're living on campus. So perhaps you could tell us a little bit about how you manage life on campus, about the restaurants, food, the other facilities that are available to students when they live on Belfield.
Yeah, no, I have had a great experience living on campus. It is so nice to wake up 5 minutes, or not 5 minutes before class, but leave the house 5 minutes before class. But I mean, just being able to stay over here during the weekends when maybe there's not as many students, like you'll be able to meet other people that are already on campus. There's like the residence life associations, there are clubs within the people that are off campus. So there are like baking events, there's sports events, and then obviously you have the really great gyms. There are a lot of opportunities, and I would definitely recommend staying on campus your first year.
And Aisling, another thing about your journey to St. Quinn, I hope you don't mind us saying it, but you are one of our very few and select group of global excellence scholars. So you were selected out of hundreds of students who applied for scholarships, and you have some of your tuition covered. Could you tell us a little bit, or tell our participants a little bit about what the Global Excellence Scholarship is?
Yeah, so I was really honored to receive the scholarship, but so it's basically just about kind of showing how you feel like you are an international student and how your goal is to become more international and learn about different cultures, which my course definitely does. And I think it's definitely a great opportunity, and I would suggest that everyone who has applied to UCD definitely apply for, because you never know. And I think it's really great.
Super. Thanks so much, Aisling. I think I can see another question coming in maybe about the difference in programs. So I might ask Virginia maybe and Maeve to join us again, and Orla while she's here. We might have a couple of questions, because I think one has come in to explain a little bit about the difference between the BCom, the BSc Business, and the Commerce International. Who would like to take that question? Virginia?
So I'll speak to the BSc Business. So language would not be part of this course, as I think, some people studying BCom International, language is the attraction to the course in conjunction with business. So BCom International would be appropriate, for example, if you're interested in studying at a university where you could work on your Chinese or your German or your Italian or Spanish, I think would be the main, or French. Whereas BSc Business, many of our students are already coming from overseas to maybe study in English, which is a second language for them, or Ireland is a new country for them. So our course doesn't focus on language in that particular way. That'd be a big distinction with BCom International. And of course, related to that, there are specific constraints on electives for the different programs. So if you were, for example, in BSc Business, you would be encouraged to select your kind of final year modules from a global business stream in particular. You don't have to. You can also choose the general business stream, but you're encouraged to do that. And the flexibility is there because we know when we're applying to a school and to a major or to study business, you're exposed to so many new ideas, new people, new lectures. that you know, your interests may wander a bit, and that's why the electives are there. So you can try out new things. But yeah, so the language would be very different. Maeve, can I turn it to you for the BCom International question? That's a little bit trickier, and I'm not as well equipped to answer that one.
No, I think you caught it completely. Essentially, and you say this yourself, Virginia, all of the degrees are great business degrees. You're getting an all-rounder business education. And then after that, it's a question of if you want to add a flavor. So I suppose the BCom is the core business degree, and adding the flavor of languages, it tends to really suit. I loved William's example, you know, of the classes with wine list, but it does evoke something about you are really getting to know a language, but also its culture and the type of reading and life that is associated with that particular language group or group of countries. So if that lights up your world, then the BCom International is for you. If you're more thinking, you know what, I'm interested in the global picture and I want to be very versatile and have very strong intercultural skills, then maybe it's the BSc Business. But the core is that all of them really are, you know, great business degrees, and then the flavor is your choice.
Super. Thanks, Maeve. That's a really good synopsis. And I guess another way to think of it as well, the BCom and the BSc Business can be 3 years or 4 years with the 1 additional year. The Bachelor of Commerce International is going to be a 4-year program because one of those years you're going to spend abroad. So Aisling is studying Spanish. So in a year and a half's time, she will be getting ready to think about moving to Madrid or Barcelona or Valencia to spend a year studying abroad in Spanish before she returns for her final year here in Quinn. Orla, can I turn to you, if you wouldn't mind, for a minute, because I'm just conscious that we have 3 of our students from North America, but we have students from lots of different countries in Quinn. Could you tell us a little bit about the makeup of our student cohort in Quinn?
Yeah, so obviously we have a lot of students from Ireland, but then we have them joined, I mentioned earlier, we have about 50 different nationalities. So we have quite a strong cohort from North America. We would have students from China, from India, from various different countries in Africa, including the Middle East. And then we would also have students from many different countries in Europe as well added into that. I think we have currently 1 student who's come all the way from New Zealand to us. So we're looking for more students from that side of the world. But yeah, a really good variety of backgrounds, perspectives, languages, cultures. So it's a really fun place to be in the school and to learn about all those different things and to see students sharing that kind of information with each other, and also learning about the culture and the differences, the culture in Ireland and the differences and similarities between their home culture and this new country that they've landed in that they may or may not know that much about. So part of what we do in the school and part of a lot of what I do is I would be encouraging students to get out there, find out more about Ireland, go into Dublin, you know, learn about the history, learn about the culture, but also to travel outside of Dublin to other places in Ireland to learn about that. And just to build up those experiences and that understanding of the context of how they're learning, what they're learning in Ireland, and to get all those cultural references. So I think maybe the students can talk a little bit more about that. I know Sinead and Aisling both had connections to Ireland already, but I don't think you did, William. So you maybe can talk a little bit about that. And it's fun to see students learning about the different things in Ireland. So one Indian student memorably said to me a few years ago that his advice to an incoming student from India would be, don't bother with an umbrella, because he said in Ireland, rain doesn't just come down straight like it does in India. It comes from all directions because of the wind. So an umbrella is useless. So I thought that was a very good piece of advice, because as an Irish person, I would never think to tell that to an incoming student. But he felt it was important advice.
I think that's a really good jumping off point to ask our students, because I'm conscious that we're almost coming to the end, to ask our students for one piece of advice they'd like to offer students who are on this webinar, who are thinking about accepting a place here in the Quinn School. Sinead, could I start with you? What advice would you offer students if you put yourself back where you were 2 or 3 years ago?
Of course. So I definitely went the alternative route. I transferred into the Quinn School. And so my piece of advice would just be go for it. I wish I didn't have to transfer in. I wish I did it my first year. And it's a great opportunity. You know, you can always go back home. You can always think you did the right thing, but I think you should just go for it.
Just go for it. That's a good capture, Sinead. Aisling, can I check in with you? If you were in this boat this time last year?
Yeah, I would just say if you do accept the offer, just try everything out there. There are so many opportunities, like all of the clubs, all of the different classes, all of like the classes you can take outside, like the UCD alumni and UCD careers. So there are so much opportunities. And if you do end up coming here for 4 years, I would definitely take advantage of that.
Thanks so much, Aisling. And William, what would you say to students on this call?
I think just use all the supports available. It can be, especially when you first get over here, when you don't know a lot of people, it can be a little tough. So use all the supports. I mean, Quinn is great. I remember Orla and myself walked around the lake when I think the first month or so when I was here. So just knowing people, using those supports, the UCD Global, any of the clubs or sports teams or anything, it's great to be able to fall back on that when, you know, your family's kind of far away and your, you know, friends you might have had in high school kind of far away. So it's great to have those supports here.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, William. And I guess for settling in, when students join us in first years, they're put in small groups as well, kind of peer mentor groups. So you might get to connect in very quickly with a small group of people before you move into your bigger classes or into the clubs and societies. So they're also a great way to get to know people. And William, just before we finish up, you have a graduate job opportunity, I think. So you're staying with us in Dublin for a little while longer once you graduate.
So I'll be actually in London first and then Chicago. So unfortunately, I'm not staying in Dublin, but the guy who runs the company was a Quinn student. So I'll be working with the environmental area selling carbon credits. And then previously I'd had internships in kind of the renewable energy sector. So I'm really excited to start that in May.
Okay, so that's part of the Quinn alumni, so a former graduate. So did you come across the job through Quinn, through the career network in UCD?
Through Professor Byrne, actually. So she connected the two of us.
Excellent. So Professor Byrne is Professor Julie Byrne, who is the academic director of the Bachelor of Commerce program, but is also a lecturer in finance and has started a new course this year in green finance. So that's where the connection came in. So I think we are just about out of time. So unless there are any other pressing questions, we might wrap up. As Orla has mentioned earlier, for our students across the globe, there are global teams in India, in China, in Southeast Asia that will be in contact and will give you more details. Look out for some conversion events. There's the opportunity to network maybe and meet with students before you take up this offer or before you come and join us in Belfield in September. If you do get that opportunity, I'd say please go ahead. It's always great to make some friends before you join. And Maeve, you're back on screen. Is there anything you'd like to add before we finish up?
Just that it's been a pleasure to have your company. We've talked a lot, but we hope that if you do have any questions, you feel you can reach out and answer them. And thanks to everybody on the call.
Absolutely. Thanks a million, Maeve, and to William and Sinead and Aisling and Orla and Virginia. Thank you so much. And to everybody across the globe, have a lovely morning or evening or afternoon. And we really look forward to seeing you again. But please do get in contact if you have any other questions at all. Take care, folks. Goodbye.